Hello everybody and welcome to this video where we're going to be talking about when to bring in the experts. My name is Simon Batchelor. I'm a marketing consultant from Pallant Studio and we work predominantly with engineering and manufacturing companies to help them stand out in the marketplace and connect with people beyond the network that they currently have. I'm joined today by Paul. So Paul, do you want to give us an intro?
Hi, I'm Paul Everington from Everwell Associates. We work with all types of small and medium-sized enterprises, but also specialising in manufacturing and production like yourself, Simon.
Excellent. So today we wanted to talk about when is the right time to bring in an expert. A lot of the companies that we are working with, both myself and Paul, are often in that sort of scaling up phase. So they've kind of established, they've sort of proven what they do works, they've got a good customer base and that business is doing well. And now they're getting to the point where they think, right, I need to grow that business. So from our side of things, on the marketing side of the fence, as it were, we often see businesses think, oh, well, maybe I need to hire a marketing manager. And that can be a very useful thing to do inside a business, and particularly with sort of e-commerce brands or sort of B2C brands, actually having someone working inside the business doing your marketing is actually a very effective strategy, because you need someone on the ground every day who can kind of share what's going on and keep that kind of social media content going. However, on the kind of B2B side, in the sort of consideration purchase, that's actually less effective, because really what you're looking for is people who are looking for exactly what you're doing, because people who know what they want are looking for you, rather than you having to go out and tell people that this is what they want, which is the sort of B2C side. So in B2B, we find actually sometimes having a generalist in-house isn't necessarily the best strategy, because what you really need is someone who is an expert in lots of different things, and that often isn't one person. And if it is one person, they're going to be very senior and very expensive. So quite often what we do for clients is we sort of help become their marketing department, as it were, by being the expert they need once a month or once every couple of weeks when they need it, and balancing that across a marketing strategy. Whereas it would be far less efficient and far less cost effective for them to try and hire maybe 2 or 3 people internally to do what they need to do to get those skills in-house. So from our point of view, that is when the best time is to bring in the experts, is when you're sort of looking to scale. So Paul, thinking about it from your perspective, where do you think is a really effective time to bring in the experts?
I think it's similar to what you're saying, Simon. It's when you, as the innovator, the manager, the person driving the business, is sort of getting increasingly stressed and overwhelmed by work. They've got no time to do the things that they want to do. They can get into a cold sweat when they get a new contract. So, surely the best thing ever is to get a lovely, new, valuable contract, and it stresses you, because you know it's just more work to do. And as you say, when you're expanding, you're employing more staff and so on, you've got the worry of employers NI, the recruitment process, the onboarding, the training, before they can be thoroughly useful. We do a lot of what we call quality as a service. So I sometimes call it the Nanny McPhee principle, for those who've seen that one. When you need us but don't want us, we'll be there. So we come along and we just sort of overlay, we help them while they need it. And when they don't need it, we go away. And then if they want us to come back from time to time, as you say, it's just, we can add that in when necessary. So it gives them all the expert benefits, as you say, rather than having a generalist. But again, only when they need it.
Yeah, and I think there is an interesting sort of switch there, because obviously this didn't used to be quite as prevalent in the sense of being able to deliver services as a kind of when you need it type service. Previously, maybe 15, 20 years ago, it was all about, well, you need to hire people in order to get the expertise you need in your business. And I think there was a sort of running thought that actually, unless they're working in-house, it's going to be far more expensive to hire someone externally. Whereas actually, I think now the opposite is true. For some roles, actually, it can be more cost effective to just hire people when you need them. I mean, certainly from our side of just the internal workings of our business, we don't have people employed, 5 days a week to do what we need to do. We just have a team of experts that we pull in. That's why we're called Pallant Studio, because we use the studio model, which is to pull in the right people for the job to deliver on that work,
and as you say,
then
the
get
experts,
that work done and delivered. Exactly. So we're the experts who bring in the experts, if you see what I mean. And obviously, from your point of view, Paul, you're working with a team of people as well to bring in those people. But for a business to get to a scale where you would need all of that internally, that's a big jump from where people need it to where people are at the scale where they need it internally. And I feel that during that transition period, then that's the right time to call on the experts to get the job
Well, what
done.
happens is, you're right. They need the experts. They're brilliant at what they're doing. They're the innovators. Their product, their service. They're brilliant at that. But suddenly they find they've got to export it, and it might be an export controlled thing, or there's certain documentation they need, and they're just not familiar with that. So suddenly on a Saturday night, they had to learn this whole new process. No, they don't. Just bolt that in with an expert who will do it in a fraction of the time that you as the innovator. I mean, you can do it, of course you can, but you can just get it done, get it quickly, signed off, and that's it. And that's right from regulatory compliance. Also, what they get, I think, with what you were saying as well from the marketing side, us with quality, is someone to bounce the ideas off, to help them, talk through and improve, effectiveness and efficiency and so on. You could buy in supplies in a more planned manner, for example. If you get the quality process in place, rather than, as I said, the order comes in and you're in panic mode, oh God, how can we do that? And you suddenly find you're buying things at the last minute, which means they're more expensive. You may not have time to check them, in the manufacturing and production side, that's critical. So when you're actually planning it properly, so one of the things we do sometimes is come in and do project management on a specific project. So we help them with that. So they buy things in a timely manner, the best quality, which means at the other end, they won't get, complaints, they won't get failures and that sort of thing. Rather than what can otherwise happen is they get this big job and it's really exciting. They had to rush around like headless chickens to do it. And then they get the fallout later on, which requires more work for them and customer dissatisfaction and so on. So it's about planning it. But as you say, bring the experts in sooner rather than later. And you only bring them in for the time you need them.
Yeah. And I think that's the key, because otherwise you just end up spending your profit margin fixing a project that could have been run far more cost effectively using extra resource that isn't going to be an ongoing overhead. It's just a when you need it overhead, which I think is a much different sort of way of looking at running a business. Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah. And also I think when the innovators, we talked about this before, that the innovators feel they need to micromanage, and actually what they need to do is to let go. But effectively, if they put good processes in place, that's what micromanages the business. People know what they've got to do because it's all written in the process. As we've discussed before, you can change the process if there's a new, better way of doing it, better technology. Yeah. But nevertheless, it's written down. So the process is what's micromanaging. So the innovator, the leader, can do the blue sky thinking.
Absolutely. And you'd be amazed how many people, you probably wouldn't be amazed, but a lot of people might be amazed with the number of times that we go into a business and they say, well, we thought we'd build our own updated website, and that was 3 years ago. And we've just pushed some boxes around Wix for 3 years. It looks crap. It's all out of date. All of the text is The pictures don't really work. And we just thought, do you know what? This has taken far too long. We've lost so much business over it. We just need someone who knows what they're doing to come in and
You're so right. We had that. We had that in our own business. I handcrafted in HTML our first website in 1995. We were the first in our business. It was brochureware, basically. That's it. And again, I could have learned some of these technology. I'm an engineer by background. But no, at some of the networking events we've been to, I met a fabulous team who've done a brilliant job in a fraction of the time, far better than I could have done it. And it's been delivered in a really short time scale, not in the, you're right, 3 years, how did you know? That's the sort of time it does take. So we called in the experts and it was done, in a blink of an eye. Fabulous.
Excellent. Well, if people are listening to this, Paul, and they think I need someone to come in and help me get my processes sorted out, then how can people get in touch with you?
They can go to the website, everwell.associates, or find me on LinkedIn, Paul Everington.
Excellent. And if you're listening to this and thinking I really should put down the mouse and stop trying to make my own website or any sort of part of your own marketing, then you can get in touch with me by either going to the website pallant.studio or you can then connect with me on LinkedIn. Thanks, everybody, for listening and watching, and we'll see you in the next video.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.